Welcome to another edition of the Seven Hills Resident of the Month. And the spotlight this month for April is a music legend, not only here in Seven Hills, but really across the country. His name is Butch Armstrong, and we're here at his resident in Seven Hills. Super to
thank
meet
you for
today.
that compliment. Not true, but thank you.
And we've had so many stories already off camera. We're going to be really challenged to meet our deadlines here for Cox Communication, but we're so happy to be on Cox. And Butch, why don't you just start at the beginning? Where did you begin with this fabulous music career?
I used to listen to records at 4 years old. My mother gave me the Victrola with the big horn. And instead of playing with toys, I always listened to records, and I had 3 records. Blueberry Hill by Fats Domino. Bill Doggett was a local Cleveland group that had a song called Honky Tonk, which you've probably heard in a million movies, you know, in the beds of movies.
Sure.
And You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog by Elvis Presley. And I just wore those records out.
Yeah.
She taught me how to put the needle on the thing, and there was the big horn and those old Victrolas, and I never forget the RCA Victor label. On the label I saw as a little kid was a dog sticking his head in the horn. That was their logo. So I used to stick my head in the horn thinking that's what I had to do. And I've told the story a million times, but my mother would come down from washing clothes and go, "What are you doing? You're going to hurt your ears." And I go, "Well, look at the dog's doing it." You know, it's like, so that's how I started. And then
And I read you loved the trombone early on.
I also had a trombone. I wanted to be a trombone player, okay, but my father, I begged him for a trombone, and it was just something that I would just, you know, a 4 or 5 year old kid can't really play very well.
Big instrument.
So, but what happened was, I listened to records for my whole childhood through the late 50s, the mid 50s, late 50s, and my father would bring records home from a local jukebox guy that when they were done with the jukebox records, he would just give them away and say, "Hey, take these home to your kids." And they were all Frank Sinatra, Big Band, Tony Bennett, Jerry Vale, Dean Martin, all those old Italian record crooner guys, you know.
Sure.
And because it was big band stuff, that's what made me want to be the trombone player. And I listened to it all the time, but I loved rock and roll. And then it wasn't until I was about 9 years old, or no, maybe 7 or 8 years old, all the Italian people would go down the basement on a holiday, in the old cold cement basement, right? Cement block basement,
Sure.
with their corsages on, and all dressed up from church. Why they did that, I don't know. It goes along with the old grandma's house, you know, putting plastic covers on your couches, remember?
Yeah, oh yeah, I know that.
And so I never forget, everybody go down the basement to eat. So all the spaghetti's made and everything. And after the dinner, everybody's going, "Come on, Johnny, get the guitar, Johnny. Come on, Johnny." You know, my cousin Johnny was maybe 11 or 12. And he was a really good-looking, handsome guy with curly black wavy hair. And he had a little red bow tie on and his checkered jacket. He pulls out this big, beautiful 350T guitar, right? And it was like it must have been $1,000 guitar, you know, in 1961, and an amplifier. And me and my brother and my cousin Frankie, we just died. We go, "Oh my God, electric guitar!" And you plug it in the wall, and it's like electric. It's like, and he knew about he knew 3 songs, and he just entertained everybody. And I never forget on the way home, I go, "Dad," I says, "I want to play guitar too." You know, that's naturally at most kids. And he goes, "Oh, it's an expensive instrument now." He goes, one day, he says, "You know, when we get a little older, we'll talk about it." He says, he's taking lessons too. You know, and his uncle bought him that guitar. He lived in California or something. And, you know, so we kind of forgot about it for a while. Until the Beatles were in Ed Sullivan like everybody else. And then the next day, everybody for sure wanted to play the guitar.
Right.
And that's how it happened.
Okay. And then you and your brother got a lot of attention early on.
Well, we actually begged my father for a guitar, and we had some money saved up. And my father says, "Save your money." He says, "I'll get you the guitar and the amp, little beginner guitar." He said, "But you have to promise to take lessons, and I just signed you up this week." And so we took lessons for a good maybe 3, 4, 5 months. But, you know, our heart was in rock and roll, so we started listening to records more and picking up by ear.
Sure.
And eventually we slowly, without him knowing about it, we quit reading the music, because we found out that the Beatles didn't read music, so why should we?
Sure.
And this was the wrong thing to do, because I never did learn how to read the music. And we became really good by playing by ear players.
Okay.
And we got really good at that. So we started putting a band together, and before you know, within a couple of years, we were on a national television show. We started playing parties. One party from one led to another. And this lady discovered us, and she put us on television, and she became our manager. And we ended up almost having a chance to go to Las Vegas. And that fell through because one of the members in the band's fathers did not want his son to get into the music business. And that kind of ruined the whole thing. And we didn't find that out until we were about 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that was like our big break. But
Sure.
the rest was kind of history after that. You know, everybody became teenagers and went to college. And I just kept playing. You know, my brother kept playing too, and he went on to play with a lot of famous people. Played bass.
Now, he's out in California.
Yes.
And you were out in California for a while, weren't you?
I tried my luck. I did everything I could possibly do here. And in this blizzard of 1978, I said, that's it. I'm going to Hollywood, and I'm never coming back here again. And my parents thought I was crazy. I had a little red Volkswagen, and I had one suitcase, one guitar, a little Fender amp, and that was it. And I don't know, maybe $100 in my pocket. And I left the day of the blizzard. It took like a whole day to get to Columbus.
Wow.
And a friend of mine was following me, so we kind of backed each other up. But it took over a week to get there. But on the way there, the craziest thing happened. On the radio, I found out over the air that one of my favorite guitar players and mentors of all time, who I copied all his songs, okay, and copied his guitar style, was a very big influence on me. Terry Kath from the band Chicago accidentally shot himself with a gun. It was an accident. And I was like devastated. And here I am going to California, and I never really gave it a second thought. But I knew all their songs at one time. I was playing with a basically Chicago tribute type band, by today's standards what they call it. In 1969, when I was fresh out of high school, I played with a 10-piece band, and we specialized in Chicago. We played the whole album, the 2 albums. We did Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Anything that had horns in it. Buddy Miles Band, 10-Wheel Drive, The Tower of Power. And I got really good at playing that kind of music. So when I got to California, me and my friend were going to different nightclubs and trying, you know, to get in the music scene. And it was really tough. It was like, you can't, the last thing you could ever do is tell anybody you just moved to California. They'll just laugh at you. Sure. They'll just shut the door on you. Because everybody's out there starving, you know. Well, I just came from Cleveland and I'm looking for a gig. It's like, no, I got here. It's like, that's exactly what it was like.
Sure.
So I'm hanging out at the studio of Cleveland people. They were way older than us that had a recording studio. And I just happened to ask one day, I go, gee, I says, is the band Chicago gonna be trying people out? You think so? I mean, oh, they got to have somebody. And so he goes, hey, you know what? He says, I know the manager. And he came back the next day and he says, yeah, they're having tryouts. In fact, they start this week. He says, I told them about you and they want to hear you. Because they had heard of the group Rastus that I played with from Cleveland, and they knew each other personally. Right. When Rastus used to play in the city of Chicago, the band Chicago used to come and sit in with them. And they played baseball with them and had picnics with them, you know. And they saw the name of that group and they says, let's get them over here. And I couldn't believe it. But the main thing was Terry was not only the front man of the group and the most powerful person of the group. I knew his guitar riffs, and I knew his solos, and I knew I could play, you know, like him. I mean, he was a big influence on me, but he was also one of the main lead singers. And I kind of knew that going in there, but when I got the audition, here I am. Electric Gates opened the doors, you know, and they got all these gold records on the wall, and I go, I can't believe it. It says Chicago on the drum hit. I'm going, I got to pinch myself. And they were really nice to me. They were wonderful. And they really liked me. I mean, they said they tried 30 guys out, and I was the best guy out of everybody that played.
Wow.
But they had to get someone with a strong vocal. And I says, well, you know, that's why I came anyway, you know. And they go, well, and they almost got 2 guys in the band, one that could sing and one that couldn't. 2 guitar players. Because they didn't think they could find one guy that could replace Terry. Sure. And they ended up doing that a couple years later. But then all of a sudden this kid came down that was in a movie. And they were encouraged sight unseen to hire this guy, because if the movie hits, he'll put the band back on top again by himself. Right. So they listened to the record company and the management, and they ended up getting that kid. Okay. And that's what happened. Sure. And so I stuck it out there for a couple of years, and then my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she came out, and she was waiting for 10 years, you know, for us to get married, and I kept saying, well, I got to get a good job, I got to get a job, I got to get a job, you know. Once I get a job with a famous band, that was my goal, to be a hired hand for a famous group. Right. And so she came out there, and we got married anyway, and she came out, and we've been together since '69. And it's 1980 and 81, and I was just all over that town. I met so many nice people, but it just like it could be there forever. And all of a sudden, overnight, it was like the thought of me being a hired hand backing some famous person up. It just turned sour. And I knew some people that were doing that for some famous people, and it was just like a really high pressure, high maintenance gig. I mean, you could lose your job at any moment if you look at somebody the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, or you're 5 minutes late for a session, or you played too loud, or if you got too much applause.
Oh, sure.
That's happened.
Yeah.
So I started weighing this all out, and I'm going like, what do you really want to do? I says, well, that audition with Chicago, that kind of situation is never going to happen to me again. I'm going to go back home and get with the best band I can, learn how to sing, and do what I want to do. And I've been here ever since.
Yeah. And that's when you moved to Seven Hills.
I moved to Seven Hills in 1981, and I love this town. I'm a very big fan of Seven Hills. I've been all over the country, and I think of where would you really like to live? I would never want to live any place but here, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
That's
People think I'm
location
crazy,
nation.
but they go, "Oh, we're going to Naples when we retire."
Yeah.
I went to Naples. There was no music at all. What am I going to do down there?
Sure.
I mean, it was like, all the retired people from Cleveland are down there,
Right.
and I says, "No, that's not for me."
Well, you look at these walls, and every picture has a
This is
story.
my little wall of fame that with people we've met over the years we played for. In 1989, when Jerry Shirley was on the radio, the Belkin Productions and Jerry Shirley and the Ciula brothers, who are hooked up with, I believe, Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor from I think he's from Parma, around here, West Side. All those people had concert openings. So they got us all these concert openings like overnight, and we started playing for all these famous people. We became, like, I think, the #1 local band to be the first call to open up for famous people that were coming in town. We did George Thorogood, we did Meatloaf, we did Eric Burden. He came and jammed with us. We played with Frampton. There's a whole list of people on the website, and thanks to all those great people in Cleveland, we got discovered. And we played for Meatloaf at the Agora, and he was known to have so many strong fans that nobody ever wanted to hear an opening act for Meatloaf. They would actually boo him off the stage. And we didn't know that, but we got there, we started playing, and they also weren't allowed to give us their stage lights, their spotlights or their colored lights or nothing. So when we started playing, we basically had the ceiling lights on that were, above the stage, and we didn't even know the difference, really. We just were jamming, and Meatloaf was on the side of the stage watching us. And he's like, he's got that look on his face like he wants to kick your butt,
Because you're too good.
And I'm going, oh boy, I don't think this guy likes us, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, next thing you know, boom, all the lights hit us, and a big spotlight hits me, like a circus, white light, and now we're really jamming, and we went upstairs and said hi to him afterwards. I says, thanks a lot. I says, he says, nobody's supposed to get our equipment, or whatever. This is, but he says, you guys are great. He goes, you guys are a great band. I says, you mind if I call you Meat? No, it's like I'm just teasing him. Anyways, no, he was a really nice guy. He was really cool. He's got that, that look on his face, like.
Yeah.
And then there was a big, beautiful article the next day in Plain Dealer or something that said, wow, the Armstrong Bearcat Band did such a great job. Meatloaf gave them the lights, and where most warm-up acts get booed off the stage.
Yeah.
That was one thing there.
Yeah, big feather in your cap.
Eric Burden, we opened for him, and he was playing with Oblivion Express, the keyboard player, I forgot, going blank. And after we finished playing for him, we went to our normal Sunday night job at the Euclid Tavern, and he comes walking in, like, where's the party, and we like, oh, we love you. It's like, would you come up and play with us? He says, I'd love to. He says, but first I want to get some of these famous chicken wings. So he come and they got like 50 chicken wings and 2 bottles of vodka, and we all had a big party. And I was talking to him like I'm talking to you right now, like, what was it like playing with Jimi Hendrix? He goes, yeah, it was great. Like, he was like just the nicest guy in the whole world. Like I knew him forever. And that was a really impressive thing. I think if he ever came to town, he would remember you. He's that kind of guy,
Right.
After he plays the gig, he wants to know where the party's at, So he was cool. We opened for George Thorogood.
Yeah.
That was a sold-out show. He didn't say hello to us though. I think some people got a little mad sometimes because the opening act was a favorite of the group of the
Sure.
Cleveland people.
Sure.
You know, and that's happened to other people too. We've opened from everybody from John Mayall, Leslie West, everybody on the wall here. Well, we did a thing with Todd Rundgren, Rick Derringer, Albert Collins, the great blues man, Mark Farner.
And a variety of music.
Yeah, Peter Frampton and me jammed together. Jerry brought him into town. Jerry Shirley brought him into town from Humble Pie. And he wanted to come up and jam with us. And
Stevie Ray Vaughan, you've got a couple pictures of here too.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's on the wall. And
Is he one of your influences as far as your playing?
I'm influenced by everybody. It's, you know, when Stevie Ray Vaughan first came out, it was a refreshing thing because disco had just died out. Then there was a post-disco scene. It was really more classy music, but still dance music. It was the Commodores, Lionel Richie, George Benson, Al Jarreau, and I had a band locally that I played with when I came back to Cleveland. It was called Goodfoot. And these guys were a great band. And it was like, and we played 6-7 nights a week, that kind of classy R&B music. And all of a sudden, Stevie Ray Vaughan starts hitting the airwaves. I'm going, wow, this is a great thing. Because if this guy hits, you know, I'm back in business again. I can go back to playing blues and heavy rock and stuff, you know.
Sure.
Which I loved all kinds of music. I always played all kinds of music. You know, and I was always good at playing all kinds of music. But my heart was always in, you know, the blues, rock, guitar stuff. You know, I always wanted to have my own rock guitar band.
Yes.
But of course, to make a living in those days, you had to go where the money was at.
Sure.
And the most money you could make as a local musician was playing dance music. So I kind of moved with the times, you know.
Yeah. And you've given back to Seven Hills. You've played the Seven Hills home days for a number of years now, right?
Yeah, we did. And then a couple of years in a row that they didn't have it. We might play again this year. We'll see what happens. I put my request in, and but they stopped it for a couple of years. But we played there pretty regularly.
Yes.
Yeah. And all the neighbors come out, you know, and it's great, you know.
Yeah. And that's really, your band now is really what you've always wanted to do, the rock, blues.
I'm doing the greatest thing I ever did in my life, okay? And I think back of everything I did, I wouldn't change a thing. But this is what I've always wanted to do. And I've got the greatest band in the world. The two guys I work with are the greatest. Billy Coakley and Michael Burke are the two greatest musicians I've played with, I think, ever. I mean, all the way around, everything. It's like, I think God at one point said that, well, you paid a lot of dues, man. I'm going to put you with a band, and you guys will be the greatest thing around. And it's like, that's how I feel about it, you know. I would love to tour with this band.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I didn't really want to tour with somebody famous or back somebody up and worry about my job getting fired, you know, and watching what I said, watching on my volume. It's like this, you know, nothing beats the beauty of having your own band, everybody getting along and doing whatever they want to do.
So what do you see for the future?
The future, we're going to just keep playing as strong as we can. The band gets better every day. Everybody gets along so well. It's just, I just hope it never ends.
You just want it to go.
I just hope it never ends. It's just, you know, the band is together 30 years next month.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So,
And the club owners and everybody, like, we're all on personal friendship terms, you know. It's not all strictly business.
right.
It's like, we're friends. You know, we hug each other. How you doing, man? You know, it's like, and, you know, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, the music scene in Cleveland is like that, isn't it? It's like a
The music-
fraternity.
Cleveland is the biggest kept secret in the country for live music, and nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Because I've been everywhere, okay, and there's not a lot of places that you can play out of town,
Sure.
okay, and plus they don't pay any money, plus you have to, you know, beg them to play there. It's been like that for a long time. In Cleveland, there's 1 million live music venues in Cleveland, and even if one closes up, another one opens up. It's like, it's the greatest, it really is the rock and roll capital of the world in that sense.
Yes.
And people don't even realize that. And the guitar players, I mean, people compliment me, but you know, every guitar player I know in this whole city is great. I mean, there's so many great guitar players. Everybody is great.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I've been to other cities, I wasn't really impressed by the musicians.
Sure.
You know, but Cleveland's got the greatest guitar players in the world, I think. For real.
And you're one of them, Butch.
Well, I'm still learning. I'm still trying. There's nothing. I learn something every day. You know, every time I pick up the guitar.
You're a lifelong learner.
Yeah, it's been a real trip. Yeah.
Well, on behalf of the Seven Hills Hall of Fame, I want to present you with one of our highly coveted, beautiful T-shirts.
I would love to have that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing you at the home days
Okay.
this year.
I hope, yeah,
Hopefully that'll work out.
yeah, I'll be talking to somebody
Okay.
about that. We'll see if
Right.
it works out this year.
Great. So again, our resident of the month for April is Butch Armstrong, local musician, legend. Glad to have him here in Seven Hills.
Thank you.